In this flipped classroom presentation, students will learn about the business cycle and economic conditions which affect it. The business cycle is an ever-changing group of economic conditions which identify how strong or how weak an economy is. As we look at the stages of the business cycle, know that the three key factors that we will review are GDP, unemployment, and consumer spending and demand. The first stage of the business cycle is expansion. With expansion, there is a positive movement in all economic conditions. In this stage, there's an increase in positive economic indicators like employment, income, output, wages, profits, demand, and supply of goods and services. At some point, an economy can no longer expand. This is called the peak. GDP begins to level off, unemployment is reached an all-time low, and supply cannot meet demand, so prices increase and consumers restructure their budgets. Contraction simply means that an economy is losing its strength. It's common during this stage that GDP growth slows, unemployment begins to rise, and spending and demand decreases. If growth slows or is no longer occurring for at least 2 quarters, an economy is said to be in a recession. A recession that lasts for a long period of time is called a depression. But much like the peak cycle, eventually things have to turn. This is called a trough. During the trough, supply and demand of goods and services reach their lowest point. The GDP is said to be negative, and unemployment is at an all-time high. Nearly every economy will begin to grow following a trough. This is called the recovery stage. GDP begins to grow again, jobs become available, and income, demand, and sales increase. Recovery continues until the economy returns to steady growth levels. During some phases of the business cycle, it's not unusual to see either an inflation or deflation of prices. Inflation could be described as a rise in the price of products. Prices typically go up when economies expand and typically go down as an economy contracts. Inflation can be caused by any of these 3 factors. First, an increase in production costs, like wages or an increase in the price of raw materials. Second, an increase in demand. Or third, there's too much money in circulation. Deflation occurs during contractions. It's when an economy artificially lowers the price of products to encourage individuals to spend. The end goal of deflation is to re-energize the economy.